Hello, my name is Dr. Ronald Coyle. First and foremost, I'm a former military, or I am a U.S. military veteran of the U.S. Army. I served in Fort Carson 2012 through 2016. Also served in the Colorado National Guard 2016 through 2019. So proud to serve, had a great time, got to go to Air Assault, do a lot of cool things. So I'm here to talk about a pretty important issue, and I'll try to keep this video short. I plan on doing it's kind of a series of them. I could spend an hour or two on it if I really needed to. First and foremost, I would like to thank militarycorruption.com. Mr. Nelson Sloan, one of their editors. They're one of the few outlets to actually cover this and help me kind of get the word out publicly. It's definitely a very interesting topic. I have some off-the-record discussions with them, as well as with attorneys and other people. And I think a lot of people know what's going on, but when on the record, definitely a lot of hush-hush and a lot of quiet stuff going on. So I was working as a civilian between September 2019 and July 2021 as a marketing web content analyst. I was looking up data. I have kind of a background in that. I was doing that prior to joining the military. I joined the military in 2012. Comedy was a little down. I just got my master's degree, but I wanted to get a PhD, maybe go teach down the road. So also I tried to serve when I was younger, but I had some metal pins in my left arm. There's my scars. They wouldn't take me when I was younger. Army said, come on in my 30s. You tell me. Anyways, I had a good run in my 30s. All right. Yeah, did totally fine with it. So I took a job. I was wrapping up my PhD, working on my dissertation, and this was a 2-year contract, so it was a good opportunity. Hadn't really done marketing professionally in a while. Thought it was a good way to get back to the Fort Carson community. Anyways, I ended up taking a 2-year contract. And I kind of know how these things work right now at this point. I'll explain a little bit later. I'll try to keep this video to about 10 minutes tops. Anyways, I took a job as a web content analyst for a concept called Mountain Post Living. I was actually employed by MWR, worked in their office. Well, I guess I was employed by the Army, but I worked with MWR. They had a couple of other employees who were, I guess, on the GS side. So I was a GS 11. They had a few others that were on the GS payroll. Don't ask me how and why they do this. That's totally odd to me. I don't make up the rules, I just follow them typically. All right. So a couple months in, December 2019, MWR leadership and the marketing department there was asking me to not do as much as I was doing to help promote this Mountain Post Living concept. It was a concept generally ran by General Randy George at the time. General Matt McFarland was coming in. Seemed kind of odd. I was hired to do this job, is what they told me during sort of the interview process. But then I was told, no, don't do this. It seemed really odd. Wish I was recording conversations at that time. I kind of wanted to do that now with things, but I'm not going to get through everything. I'll give you some highlight stuff. Check back for more episodes. I'll certainly share more. You can find some stuff on a site called Mountain Post, or an account called Mountain Post Ready on TikTok. I definitely have a lot of audio with congressmen, Army Criminal Investigation Division agents telling me I was on a need-to-know basis for funding was going for this concept. Let me get into this. So Mountain Post Living, or PL as I might refer it, apparently was an appropriated fund concept. So appropriated funds means congressionally appropriate or certainly appropriated at a level within the government to go to a specific cause. It was supposed to go for healthy living, marketing initiatives on Fort Carson. The money certainly was going to a lot of other things other than that. The question is, who was rounding the money there and why? Okay. So just to give you a little background information, I started catching on to some things that were shady in addition to that meeting in December 2019. COVID hit early 2020. Throughout that year, we were working from home a lot. I would come into the base a couple times a week. As with most employees, if they had to go into the office, my manager would call me and say, hey, I need you to sign something. Some things were a little questionable going into that, but I was so new into the job. My first year, I was just trying to get data, get some things going. I definitely didn't need to spend any money because it was COVID. Where there's not a lot of events, things like that. They were virtual, definitely cheaper. So anyways, my manager would have me come in to sign some things. And these had MWR letterhead, not Mountain Post Living letterhead. Super odd, but that's fine. I mean, these, again, nothing here was being flagged like, as questionable funds because this was all MWR from what I understood. The interesting thing was is these forms were already pre-signed, had my manager Sean Stewart's signature on them. They were asking me to request stuff that I technically wasn't requesting. I'm not saying I didn't make some requests that I needed for maybe some swag, and that seemed to be something totally legitimate. I had zero authorization, so even if I asked for something, they still had to sign off, and they still had to go to somebody somewhere, maybe within the accounting department. I didn't work in accounting. I worked in marketing. I didn't handle the money behind it. All right. A couple of these I had. Again, things seem kind of weird, so I took some photos of them. Yeah, they're my sort of the admin person is Robin Carter would put these in my folder, asked me to sign here. Yeah, kind of weird. Anyways, took some photos of them. I ended up seeing some other sketchy things sort of come across my desk throughout the year. I'm kind of glad I took those photos. I wish I took a few more, but I caught those a little late in the game. But there was a notice from the G8 on Fort Carson that MWR was under investigation for purchases for FY20 for MPL. Seemed a little weird because you're having me make requests, and I had no authorization. We'll get to where this is going here in a minute. And it just seemed kind of odd. That was in October 2020. As the budget closed in October 2020, nobody got in trouble for that, by the way. So don't ask me what's going on here. I was getting pressured to do some stuff with the budget going into FY 2021. I think nobody got in trouble because they were like, hey, yeah, we got somebody. We'll wait till the end of maybe their 2-year contract or something and then do whatever. But I had a Major Jason Green. February 2021, he was asking, he came to me, I guess someone said I was the person running this budget. This is totally weird. They just walk around saying some budget chores you never have access to. And I was like, yeah, you need to go check with some other people. And then he came back and he was like, yeah, any questions pertaining to MPL funding need to go to Major David Elmo, who PCS shortly after this issue got up. And then Michelle Hopkins, who's a civilian. Michelle Massar is her new name. She lives here in Fountain, Colorado. And apparently she has a financial background because shortly after I left that job, she was on the election ballot for District 8, a school district here right outside of Fort Carson. Didn't win, so yay voters. All right, anyways, Mr. Jason Green, Major Jason Green, was told not to discuss anything, and that was in caps pertaining to this budget. It had to be my budget, apparently. All right, just some super sketch stuff going on. I brought up the issue formally because I was being pressured to put a budget together going into FY 2021. So I started really getting some of this data together, brought up the issue. I did not get a copy of this report while I was working there. I waited until I left. I started dropping several Freedom of Information Act requests, for which the base now says I harassed them, even though it sounds like they're covering up embezzlement. So if I am harassing them, it's to clear my name of any federal charges, in which they'll never charge me. I've had confidence say that. I'm the web content analyst, as well as the United States Postal Service Inspector General. Questionable charges certainly made. Going to fuel, paint, office, tech-related items. This was looking at the receipts, well over $130,000 were spent. A civilian blog, very interesting. Someone's civilian blog, Break Trail. Now, this Break Trail site is actually the blog itself is decommissioned, so it's hard to know where that was registered to, but I do have all the receipts because I dropped another Freedom of Information Act request. Break Trail's in there, several $600 payments going to Break Trail LLC. And if you got to the Colorado Secretary of State website, it is registered to a Mr. Ryan Stikeleather, who's also someone who was apparently working in the MWR or Morale Welfare Recreation Department on Fort Carson, but he was on the upstairs, very much out of the picture of my manager and the rest of that marketing department. So they definitely wanted to keep him off the radar. I have found his name listed in some other correspondence showing he was, yes, definitely still employed with MWR. I did alert him to them as late as July 2020, which is when all the spending was going on. Through some MWR channel news through an outlet on Fort Campbell, although his home office was in Fort Carson. So he apparently traveled around for MWR to the bases and did some things. So the base has kept him very hidden. I brought this name up to the base. I mentioned it to an Army criminal investigation agent named Miss Melanie Wells. She said I was on a need-to-know basis. I do have a secret recording of this phone call. I have given that to militarycorruption.com. Again, there's just so much to this. Probably needs to get to a courtroom. It's hard for me to figure out where to go. I've contacted lawyers. Most of them tell me this is classic embezzlement, but that it's classic embezzlement, but they really don't want to help me with this matter. A couple others in writing have told me, for instance, Mr. Bill Aramoni out of Washington, D.C. Yes, I just dox everybody and drop names. Told me his best recommendation is that I remain quiet. I've had a U.S. Postal Service Inspector General come over and have a chat with me, who advised me to stop talking with the base about the matter, and then I move on. I got that in a text message. Started recording a lot of phone calls. Congressman Doug Lamborn. I've sent a letter to President Biden. It doesn't matter which party you contact, Democrat, Republican. You need to probably get them both out of office. Seems like they know about it. Congressman Doug Lamborn is retiring this year. Put that notice out in January, shortly after I dropped a notice on militarycorruption.com. I'm not saying has anything to do with it, but it is kind of fascinating. He says he can't do anything about the gridlock. He's part of the gridlock. When you contact him about fraud and you show him all the evidence, and this is the minimal amount of evidence I've showed him, and his office basically hangs up on me, and I have recording after recording on TikTok. Just go to look up either Mountain Proof Ready or Fort Carson Embezzles on TikTok. I'll start to get stuff moved over to YouTube in case a TikTok man is starting to come. Yeah, very interesting. So I've also contacted Nancy Pelosi, left her a voicemail. Won't get a phone call back. I've gotten this pushed up. I got a letter coming back from the president saying, yeah, we're going to let the DOD look into this. Contacted the U.S. Armed Services Committee, Ms. Hannah Kaufman. She's also a former attorney in the Army. She's with the Oversight Committee, yet they have no oversight over the military. The military apparently has oversight over them. Very interesting, because they won't touch this. They won't do anything. All they go is, well, the military says you aren't mentioned by name in the report, which is factually correct, at least within the unredacted section. It mentions me by a job title, web content analyst. As mentioned right here, does not say my name. Certainly blames me for something that says web content analyst right there. Certainly goes to say I did something outside of my job scope. If I showed you my reviews for the job, and again, I'm only going to make this video a few more minutes, I have 4.8 out of 5s, 4.7 out of 5s on consecutive reviews before and after I brought up this investigation, might I add. Which, if you're going to do something wrong, that needs to be brought up to you, not hitting it in a report, that you redact everything and then say I went outside of my job scope. I've posted this online several times. Say on Reddit, it immediately gets dropped. They will not pick it up. Moderators pretty much block me off Reddit now if I drop it in the Army thread. One person came out and said, well, you should talk with anyone at accounting in your future job. My manager told me that he was telling everyone else I forged his signature. So which one is it? Am I the person stealing and I'm forging your signature and you're not charging me? Or am I the person who brought the issue up, according to what another person on Rally Board told me? It looks like I was the person who was stealing. I fabricated evidence to cover my tracks, brought the issue up, and which kind of aligns with what my manager told him. I was forging his signature. But again, you're not charging me for forgery. You're not charging me for embezzlement. And now that the money was going to an MWR employee's blog, we know who this is. They don't mention his name in here, not even his job title for Break Trails. His name's Ryan Stikeleather. He works with MWR. I have all the receipts. They can go right back to him. You can look up his name. You can go to the Colorado Secretary of State, another government website, and his business filings are there. So we have what it seems like they're doing is they're, and they could do this at any level. It's probably how congressmen have millions of dollars while they don't want to look this up. They find someone, they try to have them sign off, make the request. They have zero access to the funds, zero. Okay, they just want you to be the request. So if you're on a federal job, if you're in a federal position, make sure you're not just requesting stuff. Apparently that's the crime right there. If you catch them, they'll say you did it. They just won't charge you. How convenient. They're still saying they can try to set you up. If you don't cover your rear, they'll probably charge you and you're probably going to jail. And you're probably sitting in prison and you're not out here talking about this stuff like I am. They do not like me. All right. But sounds like what they're doing is they're using these funds. They'll take it out of their money initially. It's an MWR letterhead. They go to their accounting department, pull it out for their own little special pet projects. And some of these went to organizational funds, expenditures that were for MWR marketing. But again, they're a for-profit entity to some extent. They run the bowling alley. They're using their own funds. They spend it. But then what they do is they have try to get someone like me to sign off on this. That's pre-approved. They need me to request it so they can get the money from the G8 or another source where these sources are, the funds are being held, and they get it reimbursed back to them. So not only can they write this off their taxes as an expense, they're going to get it backfilled also. That's the interesting thing. Now, why the garrison, being Colonel Brown right now, and Nathan Springer, who's the former garrison commander, and probably the one before that, and probably the next one after Colonel Brown, why they're covering up for MWR, and they know one of their employees is taking these funds, and the only person they will not reopen this investigation, the DOD Inspector General, Department of Defense Inspector General, I've asked them, their response to the House Armed Services Committee is, well, this report doesn't mention you by name. So what they're saying is they get billions of dollars to a budget. They're probably going through contractors, embezzling out the contractors, and they're saying, yep, you just pay out these senators, you pay out everybody else, anyone else we need to get paid out. We'll find somebody in-house to sign off, and when they bring this up, if they can't cover their rear, they're going down for millions and possibly billions of dollars of misappropriation of taxpayers' dollars. That's how they're doing it. And again, these contractors, if that's exactly what they're doing, and this is a big if, and I can only speak for MWR, not only are they got the receipts when they file their taxes every year, they can say, well, look at all of our expenditures. It's called cost of goods sold, cost of doing business, expenses, whatever you want to call it. They can write that stuff off, but they're also getting it reimbursed right back into their books, probably off the record. Super sketch. So enough of this. I do want to thank the people in military corruption. I'll certainly post some more content. I'll try to get some of my videos moved from TikTok over to here. I have some great audio with lots of Congressman Doug Lamwood. He will not answer things. I mean, these are U.S. congressmen and women. If you contact the Government Accountability Office, and I have correspondence with them, I've done everything on this. Congress is the one who is accountable and responsible for the budget of appropriated funds. Their oversight committees are not choosing not to look into this. And let's say that I've heard all the stories. Well, it's not a big enough of an amount. It's not the point. We're saying the U.S. government, this is the fabric of our society, is saying it's okay to try to frame you if you're a civilian employer on a base for something, a crime that the government knows is going on. And they all know their unwillingness to reopen this investigation. And they won't do it because if it gets to you have to have a pretty shady judge who's just going, well, we're going to exclude every single thing that you have, Mr. Coyle, which means my evidence wouldn't matter, which means it would be a kangaroo court. Again, they've had 3 years. Why are you not charging me for forgery? And why are you not charging me for embezzlement? You somehow think I did it, but you're not going to charge me. You got enough to say I did something, but not. You don't have the cojones to take me to court and get this out because they don't want this out. That's why. So it is very interesting. But feel free to reach out to me. Militarycorruption.com has my information. Good emails are coyle85@gmail.com. Would love to get some reach out for media. Current phone number 719-722-1531. Been trying to get the word out. No media will pick it up. I'm the only one talking. So I'm not redacting anything. I'm trying to review the redactions. Again, sounds like it says I did it. I brought it up. I fabricated the evidence to cover my own embezzlement. I would really love to see where this money went, especially when it's clear that Break Trail, things like Break Trail, tech items, they're the ones hiding. This is them, all right? The Department of Army, your armed services, the one that I took an oath to defend, to protect, and to do the right thing, seems to be the one that wants to sit here and cover this up. And again, it's the leadership, and it's definitely going up through Congress now. It's very interesting. I've got my own thoughts and opinions on a lot of things beyond just this and how the government operates, but certainly don't have evidence. But I can certainly speak to what I have, and I can also tell you I'm a free man. They've not charged me, haven't even taken me to court for a civil suit. All right. I I may file a Freedom of Information Act request. I'd love to, or through a court, to try to get an unredacted copy of this. Yeah, I would love to see it. It actually says my name's not listed in it. I think I certainly have some leverage. I'm kind of looking at how things are going with other trials, or maybe things are a little unclear, but the argument is, yeah, there's a crime that's being covered up, because that would have to be my leverage. Yeah, it's hard to take them to court for conspiracy, because they could come back and just, maybe, I doubt they even wrote this report. They probably just wrote a bunch of blank stuff. That's only 2 pages. Had to file a whole nother report, and wait another almost almost another 8 months to get a copy of all the receipts. And all the names are redacted on that. They'll tell me my name's not on anything. But very interesting. So anyways, stay tuned for more.